Hey, thanks for coming, everybody. This is my first public speaking event, so bear with me a little bit. But I've been with GreenSavers a little over a year now, and I love it. I found my home here. I think that I have the coolest job in the world. I get to go and meet people every day, help them with their energy goals and needs, and make a lot of friends. So it's a pretty good deal. I've been passionate about home energy for over 20 years now. I got into that starting with doing some sustainability education and permaculture and stuff when I was about 20, and that kind of got my gears turning for how can we do things more efficiently in the world. So yeah, it's been a long journey. I ended up going through sustainable agriculture and then went and got a mechanical engineering degree and went into tech for about 4 years, and then I sold solar panels for about 5 years before coming over to GreenSavers. So it's been a nice journey and a fun one, and I just feel like I'm in a position now where I'm able to kind of do the most good with my set of skills. So pretty fun. So let's get into it here. So we're talking about holistic home electrification. And obviously we're all here for the same reasons, trying to get away from carbon-based fuels as a heating source for our homes and how we power our lives. So let's kind of just walk through what some of the pitfalls are as we go through this process, because it's a complex set of things we've got to incorporate in order to get there. So heating systems are the biggest draw on your home. It's about 50% of every home's energy demand and usage, and so that's a great thing to tackle. It's also a big ticket item and not necessarily the first thing you want to look at. So we'll get into why some of those are. So, setting up, see the obstacles that are coming before and coordinate all those steps so that the process of whole home electrification is smooth, efficient, and economical as possible. So, starting with our electrical panel, there's a number of things. What type of panel do you have? There are about 3 or 4 brands of panels that are dangerous, hazardous. Zinsco, Federal Pacific. There's a couple others that are Pushmatic that just you look at them and you're like, you guys need a panel upgrade. I'm sorry. And that's just a health and safety issue. It's a code thing. There's no way around it. But it's a bummer when it happens, right? So knowing what kind of panel you got, making sure that it's a safe brand, and then is it full yet? How many existing circuits are you using already, right? So whenever we're doing whole home electrification, we generally have, I don't know, you probably should be looking for at least 6 or 8 open slots on your panel, or repurposing circuits, but making sure you got enough room on it's a big deal. So there's that. Service size. Here in Portland, we have a lot of homes that are from before 1900, and so there's a lot of old homes that are running around with 75 amp or 100 amp service panels, and not only panels, but service feeder wires going down to the panel from the road. So those have to be a certain gauge in order to carry 200 amp service to a home, and so when I go in, if somebody's got a 100 amp panel, that's also, unless it's a very small home, like probably under 1,200 square feet, and they've got a very simple setup, you probably need to get to a 200 amp service panel. That's just the way all our lives are going. More and more things are going electric. We need more room on our panels generally. So 200 amp service panel is the gold standard today. That's what everybody's moving towards. And if you don't have a 200 amp panel, it's something you should probably be planning for. And then knob and tube wiring. So a lot of these old attics still have knob and tube wiring in them. Knob and tube is a hazard because the insulation around it can degrade, and as it does, it gets brittle. And then if anything impacts it or you walk on it, that can fray and split and arc and burn your house down. So that's, yes.
So are you saying that if you, say you currently have a 100 amp panel, are you saying that the pave that you wire from the street would also be appropriate for 100 and you would need to replace both?
Frequently, yes. And that's just, it's something that you kind of just need an electrician there to determine. Yes, sir.
In the presentation, are you going to go over a kind of rough order of magnitude cost of service entrance upgrade and also panel upgrade?
Yeah, totally. We'll get there.
How do you determine your service size?
It's hard. Well, the panel will tell you if you have a 200 amp panel. Usually there's a main breaker up on it that says 200 amps on it, or 100 amps, and I'll kind of tell you. The trickier thing to figure out is service wire size, because insulation thicknesses around them are different, and so I usually defer that to an electrician. I can look at it and say, I think so, but I don't know how thick that insulation is to determine the gauge of the wire inside. So that comes down to a specialist activity, yeah. Knob and tube wiring. If we do have to remediate it, it's a bummer, but it's also a health and safety issue, and so it's one of those top priority, get on it, get it done, you know, let's keep moving kind of situations. So when we remediate knob and tube, generally what we're doing is cutting out everything that's on the flat of your attic. Once it's in the walls, there's nothing moving in your walls, so there's not really a risk inside there of anything compressing that wire and creating a hazardous situation. So most of the time when we remediate, they tear it all back to the walls and put new Romex in, and you got good updated system. And then if you insulate your walls also, then it's in there and nothing's ever moving either. That kind of stabilizes as well. So who's best equipped to handle this? Generally electricians. What obstacles do we need to look out for mechanical stuff? So this is your HVAC system, water heaters, that sort of stuff. Does the system fit? I walked into a house 2 days ago that had a furnace and a closet that was like almost touching on both sides, and what a nightmare of an install that would be, right? So we ended up going with a mini split system instead of trying to tie into the old ductwork, because it was just going to be too costly to try and get another system in there, tearing out the wall of the closet to make space for a new system. So going with mini splits ended up being the best option there. Are the ducts optimized? So when you install a system, an HVAC system, it's really important that your return flow air is bigger than what you're pushing out, so that the system is operating properly. It's not creating a under-pressurized situation where it's having to work harder to get the air back into the system to heat it and deliver it. So basically that's something that we check when we walk through. We make sure that you got plenty of return air and that your system will be optimized to run at its most efficient ability. I've heard some horror stories of people getting systems that are not installed properly, don't have enough makeup air, and people will actually end up paying more because the system's working harder. Rather, they got this more efficient heat pump, but it wasn't installed right. So making sure that you got a contractor who's not only running a heat load calculation for you, whoever you decide to work with, make sure they'll give you a heat load calculation, almost just to make sure that they're doing the work, right? Like that they know what they're doing and are able to tell you what size of system you should have. So always ask for a heat load calc. Yes?
What is a heat load calculator?
Sorry, that is how much energy your home is going to use. So usually it's a piece of software that you go in and you enter dimensions of the house, volume, you enter window type, insulation amounts, and all that, and building envelope tightness. And then it gives you a heat load calculation in how many BTUs you need to heat your home. So I work off of that and then determine what system's going to best fit your needs. And every system has a range that it operates in, so you know, we dial in what's going to be best for you. Under oversized, we just kind of talked about that. So who's best equipped to handle that? Generally HVAC contractors, you know. What obstacles do we need to look for? Building envelope. So is the home heat pump ready? Whenever I'm approaching a home, unless there's like a health and safety issue or your furnace isn't working, I always encourage people to do the non-mechanical stuff first. Insulate the home, air seal the home, tighten up your building envelope. When we go in and assess a home, one of the things we're really trying to do is establish a clear definition between what is indoor conditioned space and what is outdoor space, because we don't want to heat that outdoor space. And so we go through and we try and tighten the home up. We do air sealing. Primarily in the attics and under the house, we seal the top and bottom plates of walls so that air's not moving through your walls. Frequently in attics, that means sealing the interstitial space between your floors, blocking your bays at the edges of them. So we'll go in with foam board, put that in the bays, and then you just stop that communication of cold air moving through the middle of your house horizontally when you do that. And then optimized for indoor air quality. So indoor air quality is becoming a bigger and bigger thing as we learn about the dangers of combustion gases. We have more and more smoke each year. Putting a robust filter system on your heat pump as you move over to it is fantastic, and there are various levels. At GreenSavers, our standard is to install what's called a Honeywell F100, and that has a 4-inch media filter in it. Left for the whole thing? Okay, moving on. Are there hazardous conditions and materials? Knob and tube wiring and...
Sorry, I got that wrong.
Okay,
Keep going.
okay, all right. Yeah, okay, great. Hazardous conditions and materials. A lot of these old attics have vermiculite in them. Vermiculite, 90% of it came from one mine in Libby, Montana, and there has been a major class action lawsuit that happened. There's now what's called the Zonalite Trust, and if you do find vermiculite in your attic and we have to remediate it, there's almost $5,000 available back to the client for that remediation from this class action lawsuit settlement. So that's kind of good news. Yes, sir.
So I had my vermiculite tested and it came back as negative for asbestos.
Yeah.
How accurate is that sampling?
It's-
Sampling point 0.01%.
Right, exactly. They give you 2 shots at it. I just went through this with another client. So you can submit a second set of samples. And
So if both of them are negative, does that mean you just go in there with a shop vac and vacuum it out?
I mean, wear a mask. Yes, you can. You still probably should follow disposal. Well, no, you can just throw it away if it comes back. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I've only run into this situation once. Almost every time we see it, it is vermiculite from the Libby, Montana mine, but there were a couple other mines that existed. And so I have run into it once or twice where it wasn't that same stuff. It has a very particular look. So who's best to handle these sorts of situations are weatherization contractors, people who do insulation and air sealing regularly.
And GreenSavers, you guys don't do vermiculite remediation.
We do. We run it as a subcontracted service, but we definitely offer it as part of our services. Yeah.
You don't have a special truck that you guys don't?
No, yeah, and being a hazardous material, there are certain federal guidelines and stuff that they have to follow in that remediation process, tenting, making sure that it's not getting around the rest of the house when you're getting it out of there. Water has to be on site for them to make sure they're not creating lots more dust, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's...
That's not to buy a house with.
Yeah, if you can avoid it. Yeah, totally. It is expensive. The remediation costs a lot of money because of all the guidelines they have to follow. So if you can avoid that, yeah, don't buy a home with it up there already, or use it as a part of the sale close and make them do it, So water heaters. We're moving towards heat pump water heaters as the primary offering. If you have an electric resistance tanked water heater, swapping to a heat pump water heater is 4 times more efficient. Like literally in the numbers, it's like 100% efficiency versus 395% efficiency is what they say. So these end up paying for themselves in like 4 to 5 years, which is pretty cool. Pretty good turnaround on payback for upgrading to that system, and your monthly bills go down. So kind of win-win there. Let's see. Are the pipes in the right place? So GreenSavers, we operate under a minor label plumbing permit. So that means that we can do in-place swaps of water heaters. If we have to move it a little ways, that means getting a licensed plumber in there to move the pipes around, which is also fine. We can do that. But The interesting thing about these heat pump water heaters is that the exhaust air is cold. It's the heat pump system is built into the top of the tank thing. It's like the top third of it, and it's pulling ambient air into it, stripping the heat out of it, and exhausting cold, dry air. So this can be a benefit in moist basements, actually. It actually creates a dehumidifying effect down there and helps dry out your basement a little bit. But it is cold air, and if you spend a lot of time down there, we generally want to duct those out of the house. So we'll run a insulated 8-inch duct out through the rim joist usually, and let that exhaust out. Trying to find a plumber who also wants to run duct work can be a great challenge because they're different. It's really a plumber and an HVAC contractor's kind of job, right? And then you got an electrician. So installing these it can be a challenge to find people to do it efficiently and affordably, basically. But it's something that we do a lot of. So if you are looking for a new water heater, give me a call. Let's see, is the circuit grounded? Making sure the circuit is the right size for it. Often we can repurpose existing 240 volt 30 amp circuits from the existing electric tanked hot water heater that's there. If you got gas water heater, you're going to need to run a new 30 amp circuit, so that's just about $1,300 you got to plan for the cost of that. Old rusty galvanized pipes. I just got a home about 2 years ago and moved in, and the first thing I did was cut my rusty galvanized pipes out of there, and they were probably 75% occluded with grime, and so I was really happy I did that right away. One thing that I didn't know when I did that is that a lot of old homes are grounded to their piping system, because that pipe system runs out of the house and into the ground, and so they would just clamp your whole home grounding from your electrical panel onto your piping system. So when you do a repipe, you have to reground your house a lot of the time, which is something that was news to me. And then, do we need to duct it? So who's best to handle this? Almost no one. Because there's 3 different trades kind of going into that installation. Okay, let's talk about what these kind of services cost a little bit for a second here. Panel and service upgrades, $6,500 depending. That's including a service upgrade usually. So that's also doing the wires from the street to your panel. And this is just a process. We got to work with PGE. We got to schedule it out. It can take a few weeks also or months sometimes to get this one done. Remove and replace your insulation. It just depends. The incentives for insulation are awesome right now. They just are going up actually. The 1st of October, they've raised the incentives for floor and wall insulation, which is great. So that's getting easier to do for folks. Knob and tube. Hope you don't have to do it, but you definitely do if you have it. Duct sealing insulation. Duct sealing is a great thing to do, especially if your duct system is running through your crawl space. A leaky duct system running through a crawl space pulls in air that then goes into your home, and you're breathing that crawl space air. Homes with crawl spaces, generally, if you're not air sealed well, what your home's doing all the time is, as the heat is going into your home and escaping through the top, it's creating what's called stack effect, and it's trying to pull makeup air from wherever it can. If you have a crawl space, probably 30 to 40% of the makeup air in your home is coming from that crawl space. So it's musty, it's not very clean, and so looking at that, getting those sealed up, we use mastic around all the joints, and that also remediates asbestos. If you have asbestos tape on your duct system, that's also what we use to encapsulate that and remediate that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to keep running. I only got a few minutes here to get through the rest of these slides, and I can get to your question at the end. So what would the ideal contractor look like? Someone who can assess all aspects of your home and project, someone who can help prioritize timing and budget, coordinates electrical, can install HVAC, can weatherize a house, We'll install a ducted heat pump water heater and files incentive paperwork for you. Also in this planning, I guess we got prioritized timing and budget, but tax credits, for example, often if we have something like, say, 2 scopes of insulation that we want to get done, and we're in this time of year, I'll be like, cool, let's bite off the walls now and let's do the attics in January. And then you can take that $1,200 federal tax credit twice in basically a short period of time, and 2-year cycles. But you can get all the work done and then get double your tax credit back, basically. So how does an integrated service provider help homeowners? Financial prioritization. Again, I like to do all the passive stuff first, doing all the weatherization, all the insulation stuff that you can. This was interesting. This kind of blew my mind when my boss and I were talking the other day. Heat pump water heaters offset more kilowatt hours than a small solar array. And I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, by Jove, he's got it. Like he's because a small solar array, 3-4 kilowatts, your heat pump water heater is using a similar amount of energy throughout the year, or your old water heater is, and moving to a heat pump water heater is pretty close to a small solar system offset. So at the price point of about $5,000 instead of 20. That can be a big win. That's one to do before you go solar. Also in terms of solar, it should be the last thing kind of that you're looking at. I mean, it's great. Get in as soon as you can if you're passionate about it. I love solar, but the price point is higher than some of these other projects. The other thing about solar is when's the best time to buy it was 10 years ago, right? It's like having an orchard. If you planted your trees about 10 years ago, now they're starting to bear fruit. The same kind of principle is true for solar. It's paid off, and it's just printing savings at that point. So, yeah, the insulating. The other day I was looking at this. So the heat pump sizing, you got a 24,000, okay. All right, let's keep moving. Insulation can make it so you get a smaller heat pump system, and that can save money just on equipment costs. So health and safety, is your wiring up to code? Oh, back to air quality for just a second. We can upgrade from that normal media filter with smoke being a more and more common problem in our area, getting up to at least having on hand a MERV 13 filter. MERV 11 is the standard, but they make carbon activated charcoal MERV 13 filters you can fit in a 4-inch media cabinet, and having one on hand for when the smoke comes around, that thing will get 80% of the smoke particles out of your home, so you're not breathing that. We can also install filters that go up to MERV 15, and that's 98% of smoke particles, but that's also about $1,300 more. So ventilation, mold, moisture, yeah, fix the things that may kill you first. That's kind of a good principle to move with.
So what is backdrafting?
Backdrafting is when carbon monoxide from your system, from your water heater system, is not making it out of your house. When there's a depressurization, you turn on your kitchen fan, your carbon monoxide can start coming back into your home when you're creating a depressurization over here. Boom. Okay, so start with a whole home assessment. Someone should look everywhere in your house. If somebody just kind of throws a number at you, maybe get a second quote, Did you get a proposal and also a report? So when we do home audits, you get both. When I do my thing, I come and I'll give you a proposal. We do basically the same things. My services as a consultant don't include a blower door test. An audit, you get a blower door test. With an audit, you also get $150 back on your taxes, and the $400 cost of it goes towards your project with us if you choose to move forward with working with us. So, so basically, where can you find a company who does all of this? Call us. We're like one of the very few companies that It's kind of a unique company in the fact that we offer everything energy related for your home. So rather than being your own project manager, let us do it. It'll help you figure out the best order of things, the way to make it the most economical and make it easy and painless. And you'll always have someone to call and ask questions and all that. So yeah, come give me a call at GreenSavers. We'll get your house dialed in. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.